Today on Stock Charts in Focus, we're highlighting one of my favorite features for following the markets on the go. That is our ChartList reports tool. This is a great way to stay on top of those symbols in those chart lists that matter to you most. At the close, at the end of the week, you got plenty of options for getting a summary of everything in a chart list delivered right to your inbox. A fantastic way to stay on top of the markets no matter where you are. Right there in your inbox, even if you're on the go with your phone, you can keep following the markets. Now, specifically, we're going to show you 3 ways that I love to use chart list reports in my own approach. So lots to cover on the show today. You know what it is. It's all new. It's all here. It's Stock Charts in Focus. All right, my friends, welcome to the show, Stock Charts in Focus. Of course, our product focus show here on the channel where we dig into the site, dive into the features, show you around the tools, and ultimately help you get more value out of stock charts. That's our mission here every Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, our new start time here on the live channel, also up on our YouTube channel after this, and of course the on-demand platform at StockChartsTV.com. Lots of ways to watch. I'm your host for the show. My name is Grayson Roze, Vice President of Operations here at StockCharts.com. So good to be back with you. We were off last week as we are gearing up for some major product launches coming very soon. This month, we're going to have some very exciting things landing on the site. New tools, new features, new enhancements everywhere around the entire website. So lots coming. This is going to be the place to hear about it, of course. Stock Charts in Focus will dig into all of the good details and everything. Before we jump in today's show, I do want to remind everyone, go to stockcharts.com/new. And at the top of that page, we've got some highlights of what we rolled out in the last product release. And we've highlighted a lot of that on the show in the last couple of weeks and months since that product launch came out. But as I mentioned in last weekend's newsletter, it's a great time to go revisit some of the things that rolled out this spring around Stock Charts. So stockcharts.com/new, that's going to be our What's New page, has all the details. At the top of that page, you're going to see a little bit of a summary, but there's also a link in there to a standalone page that's got all the highlights of everything we rolled out in our spring product release. So definitely check that out before the summer product release rolls out very soon. So exciting stuff coming to Stock Charts. There's a little bit of housekeeping for you. Now, today's show is going to be a fun one. We're highlighting a very small, very simple feature that's actually one of my favorites around the site. That is chart list reports. This is something we rolled out a couple of years ago. It has been a huge hit with so many users. It is crazy when I talk to different users and different experts, even our commentators that are contributing content around the site. So many people say, you know, I really love the chart list reports. It's so small, but so powerful. So today, we're going to highlight that feature. Very, very easy to use. The concept is simple. Everything about it is relatively straightforward, but it's amazing how transformative this can be. So I want to make sure you know how to set up these chart list reports for your own account. Also, I'm going to highlight 3 ways that I personally love to use chart list reports. This can be a great portfolio tracking tool. It can help you follow those items in your watch list, but it can also just help you follow the markets, different corners of the market. So we got a lot to show you on the show today. So let's jump right into it. Here we go. All right, everyone. So here we are on the members dashboard. Of course, the first page that you see when you log into Stock Charts. The first thing that we're going to do to pull up chart list reports is, of course, navigate over to our chart list. So I'm going to hit this big button right at the top of the dashboard, and that is going to scroll me all the way down to our chart lists. Now, we're going to jump into the summary view for a specific chart list. I'm going to show you how to turn on these chart list reports, and we'll talk through exactly what they are. But the first thing to note is that to set these up, you're going to need to be on the summary view. That's the one with the main sort of data table, all the information in there, things like price performance, volume, PE ratios, earnings dates coming very soon. Little giveaway there. Lots of stuff on that summary page. So to do that, we're going to pick a chart list. We're going to open up this View As menu, and we're going to jump over to Summary. So here we are on the summary page, and at the very top, you've got two little check boxes. To turn on ChartList reports, it is as simple as checking those boxes. That's it. Now, when you do this, you are going to get a little pop-up that appears on the screen that's going to allow you to set the timing of your reports. We'll talk about that in just a second, actually show you that in action. But I do want to describe just kind of what these ChartList reports are. So we've got a chart list here. In this case, this is a watch list of stocks that I'm kind of keeping a close eye on. And I want to follow these stocks on a daily basis. I want to know how everything in this list did at the end of each day. But I also want to follow this list on a weekly basis. At the end of the week, I want to look at this list and say, hey, how did everything do over this entire week? What's basically the 5-day performance on everything in this list? So our ChartList reports tool allows you to do that. What we do when you turn these on, either on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, at the end of the day, we're going to take everything in that list and we are going to send you via email a summary of the performance, the price performance for everything in that list. So in this case, you can see all the stocks in this list. We've got 66 entries in this watch list. At the end of each day or at the end of each week, I'm going to get an email right to my inbox that shows me how everything in this list did over that day or over that week. It's an incredibly simple tool, but a really powerful one. Again, because this helps you keep on top of things on the go. We've all got our cell phone in our pocket. We've all got our email on that cell phone. And with this ChartList reports tool, you don't even have to spend time navigating over to StockCharts. You don't have to remember to jump over to the website and check on how things did. We're just going to send you an email at the end of the day and say, hey, here are the most important symbols that you really want to follow, and here's how everything did today. Now, the weekly report tool is also incredibly cool, especially for tracking market indexes, things like that, to know how things did on the week as a whole. So we're going to see that in action. Now, I want to put up a quick preview of kind of what these emails look like. So, as you can see here, this is what these emails look like. Very simple, just a quick summary. We've got a daily email that, again, is going to summarize all of the price performance history for that day for everything in the list. We've also got a weekly report that's going to summarize everything over the last week. So you've got two different options. Very, very simple, but very, very powerful. These emails, again, they go right to the email address that you have on file for your StockCharts account. So it's really, really easy to follow those chart lists that matter most to you. So let's take a look at how to set these up, show you the options, and then we'll talk about a couple of different use cases, ways that I personally like to use ChartList reports for my own investing workflow. So as I mentioned, to turn these on for any chart list in your account, there's no limit on this, by the way. You can turn on the daily and the weekly reports for every single chart list in your account. All you've got to do, though, to turn those on is simply click the check boxes. So we'll turn on the daily report first. I'm going to just hover over Send Daily Report, click that checkbox, and you'll see I now get this pop-up that shows up on the screen. As you can see, turn on ChartList reports to receive an end of day or end of week performance summary via email for everything in this chart list. The only other option that you have is the timing. So we do give you a couple options for the timing of these reports. Now, again, these are intended to be end of day or end of week. So all of your timing options are going to be at the close, but you do get to pick which market matters to you. Whether you want the US market close, the Canadian market close, the UK, or the India market close. So depending on the symbols that you have in that chart list, if you've got a US specific chart list with US specific securities in it, then the US market close is probably going to be your go-to. If you're a Canadian investor and you've got a list full of Canadian stocks, you can set this up so that those reports are always going to come at the Canadian market close. And these do adjust for holidays, by the way. So anytime there is a market holiday, as we've got one coming up on Monday, you are not going to get these reports if the market that you have selected for your timing is closed. We're a little bit intelligent there. So we're going to select US market close. We're going to hit save. And there we go. You can see that checkbox is now on. That's it. That's all we've had to do to turn on these chart list reports. Incredibly simple. We can do the exact same thing with our weekly reports. We select that checkbox. We choose our timing. In this case, it is going to default to the same one as the daily timing. Those actually can't be split. So if you've got chart list reports turned on for the daily or the weekly in a specific chart list, they have to be the same within one chart list. If you've got two different chart lists, you can set up totally different timing for those two different chart lists. But within the same chart list, like we have here today, we're looking at one chart list. The timing has to be the same. So in this case, it's going to pop up just to give you an option to change that timing if you need to, but it's going to default to whatever the timing you've selected is. So in this case, US market close. I'm going to hit save, and that's it. We've demoed the entire thing. This is how you turn on these chart list reports. It is incredibly simple. And if you ever want to turn them off, it's as simple as just unchecking the box. There you go. Now it's turned off. Couldn't be easier. So we're going to turn this back on and make sure that we've got this set up for this chart list. That is it. A couple things to mention again. Want to remind everyone, you can do this for as many chart lists as you want. If you want to get an email at the end of the day and the end of the week for every single chart list in your account, you can do that. Probably going to be a lot, especially if you're like me and you have tons and tons of chart lists in your account. But you can turn these on for every single chart list. There is no limit. Now, there are a bunch of different creative ways to use this feature. Again, it's a great tracking tool. At the end of the day or at the end of the week, you get a summary of the things that matter most to you. So over time, in the last couple of years since we've released this feature, there are a couple of different ways that I have personally started to use this tool. To demonstrate that, to walk you through it, we're actually going to go back to the dashboard. I'm going to click back to my chart lists, and we're going to talk through a couple of different uses of kind of how I personally use chart list reports, how it's worked for me. The first one, probably the most important one, is for my positions, the things that I actively have in my own account. Now, as I scroll down here, you can see that in my account, I've got a chart list called All Positions. That is everything that I own actively at any one time. That's a chart list that evolves over time. I'm constantly changing it as I'm buying and selling things. There are things that are coming in, things that are going out. But because I've got chart list reports turned on for that chart list, it kind of works with me. And every day and every week, I get a summary via email of what everything that I own did that day or that week. So the first one is to create a chart list full of all the positions that you actively have in your own portfolio. Set up those chart list reports, turn them on for the day, turn them on for the week, and it's an incredibly simple way to make sure that you can easily track the things that you own at the end of the day or at the end of the week. Turning on those chart list reports for your all positions chart list, if that's what you want to call it, is one of my favorite things to mention to people. Again, just a really, really simple way to make sure that you're tracking things daily and weekly in your own account. If you're a longer term investor, you might want to just turn on those weekly reports. Maybe you don't really care about the daily. You only care about the weekly. If you're a shorter term investor, maybe the weekly doesn't matter to you. In whatever case, the daily and the weekly reports, you have both of those options, but making sure you got some of those chart list reports turned on for that chart list that has all of your positions in it. That is my first suggestion to you, something that I have done for a long time and has been incredibly helpful. Now, the second one is going to be kind of the step before my all positions chart list. This is actually the one that we were just looking at. This is what I call my tier 1 watch list. Now, we've talked about this on the show in the past. I actually have 3 different watch lists, as you can see. I have a tier 1, a tier 2, and a tier 3, and I basically move things through those different tiers. The tier 1 is kind of a dump bucket, stocks that I want to keep an eye on, things that have come across my screen that I find interesting. If something gets really, really interesting, I'll move that into the tier 2 stocking list, and once it becomes a buying opportunity, I'll actually move that into the tier 3 buying opportunity. Those are the things that I am really keeping a close eye on. I've set up chart list reports for these lists though. So as you saw, we turned on those chart list reports for my tier 1 watch list. And again, that just means that the stocks or funds that I have put into my watch list, the things that I want to keep a close eye on because I'm thinking that a trade might evolve here, those are the things that I want to watch at the end of the day and at the end of the week. I want to keep a close eye on those. Make sure it's as easy to follow those symbols as possible. So by turning on those daily reports or those weekly reports or both for my watch list, I find that I can more easily track the things that I am keeping a close eye on. So that is suggestion number 2. create that watch list in your account. Make sure you have a chart list set up for things that you are watching, things that you are stocking, things that you are thinking about buying, charts that catch your eye, and then set up those daily and weekly reports on those lists. It makes it even easier to track those symbols that you are thinking of trading or investing in. That is suggestion number 2. Now, suggestion number 3 is at kind of an even higher level. The daily reports, the weekly reports, the ChartList tool overall, ChartList reports tool overall, can be an incredibly powerful market tracking tool. So you can see that in my account here, I've got all of these different lists, some labeled weekly because these are typically lists that I look at on a weekly basis, others labeled daily because these are chart lists that I look at actually on a daily basis. And if you start to read into the names, you can see what some of these are. So we've got chart lists for global equities, we've got chart lists for US equities, we've even got chart lists for things like the US sectors, the US industry groups, the Dow Jones industry groups as well. So those are kind of my market tracking chart list, my market analysis chart list, as I like to call them. And I can set up chart list reports on a daily and weekly basis on those lists as well. So let's actually show this off. For instance, we can jump into this daily US equities list, and you can see these 2 checkboxes are checked. Now this is showing you what's in this list as well. In this case, I've taken all of the major US equity indexes and I've put that into a single chart list. These are charts that I look at on a daily basis. I can annotate those. I can do everything I can with a normal chart list. But the other great feature of this is that because I've turned on those daily and weekly reports, at the end of the day, I have to check my phone. That's all I have to do. And I automatically get an email right to my inbox that has a summary of everything in this list. So in one spot, I get a summary of all the major US market indexes. And anything else that I wanted to throw in here too would be fair game. Anything that I put in this chart list, I'm going to get a summary of that at the end of the day. I find that this is a very, very easy way to make sure that I'm following the US indexes or other market analysis groups in a very, very kind of automated kind of fashion. Instead of having to worry about remembering to go to the site and check in on my list, make sure I navigate to the right spot, all I have to do is wait for that notification that pops up on my phone. I hit that email notification, and automatically I get a summary of everything in the U.S. markets, all the major indexes, and what they've done that day or that week. So this, I find, is an incredibly easy way to make sure that you are following the markets exactly the way that you want to follow them. So another helpful tool there, another helpful little tip there. And we're looking at this with just sort of the major indexes. You can do this with other groups as well. So for instance, if we jump down here to US sectors, I've actually got another chart list in my account that doesn't have the same sort of naming in here. So I actually have this set up in kind of 2 places. But I've got the same kind of concept here. We've got a US sector ETF list, and I can turn on daily and weekly reports for this list. At the end of the day, I'm going to get a whole summary of what all of the sectors of the market did. And I can get the same thing at the end of the week as well. Now, the cool thing that I've also added to this list is the S&P 500 itself, in this case, via SPY, the ETF. The cool thing about that is that in that sector summary that I get at the end of the day or the end of the week, I also have the S&P 500. So I can actually compare sort of what the sectors did on a daily basis or a weekly basis, how different sectors did to the S&P 500. Did these sectors outperform? Did these sectors underperform? I can see that from these chart list reports. So this is another personal favorite of mine, having a US sectors list that's got all of those sectors in it, in addition to the S&P 500. So couple of different ways here to use this chart list reports tool. Again, you can use it for your portfolio, you can use it for your watch list, you can even use it for different market evaluation lists that you have. I've seen people use this for breadth metrics. I've seen people use this for sentiment numbers. I've seen people use this for the industry groups. I've seen people use this for just a random huge collection of ETFs that they find interesting. You know, maybe you want to track the ARK funds or something like that. You can set up a chart list that's got all those in it and use those chart list reports to make sure that you can see those on a daily and a weekly basis. A very simple yet very powerful little tool here. As I like to call it, a workflow booster. Make sure that you're letting StockCharts kind of work for you sending you those summaries at the end of the day or the end of the week. So that, my friends, is our show for today. A bit of a quick hit, just kind of covering one of my personal little favorite features. I always love to point this out to people. We've talked about this on the show a little bit in the past, but I have never done kind of a full highlight on it. So hopefully you've seen this in action. If you didn't know that ChartList reports were there, now you do. It is incredibly easy to turn on. A couple of different options, but all you have to do really is click 2 buttons and you're there. You've got those reports coming right to your inbox. So hopefully you've had some fun kind of seeing this in action, seeing how to set these up, but also hopefully this has given you a couple ideas for how to use this tool. Again, for your positions, for your watch list, for market evaluation lists, for anything you can think of. You could use this for cryptocurrencies. You could use this for anything under the sun. By the way, one little note, meant to mention this earlier, the reports tool is actually kind of intelligent in the sense that it'll look at everything in the list and adjust the timing depending on some of the things that are in there. The big case is mutual funds. If you have an all positions list, for instance, that's got a couple of mutual funds in it and those don't update until a little bit later in the day, a couple hours after the close, we will sort of recognize that and we'll try to adjust the timing so that you don't get those reports right at the close. You actually get them more at the end of the day once everything has updated. So if you've got a chart list with some mutual funds in it or some end of day indexes and you notice that those reports are coming a little bit later, not right at the close, that is why. We actually do that intentionally so that you get the latest data for that specific day. So with that, I want to thank you so much for joining me on the show today. Again, we do this every Friday, now at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, but also up on our YouTube channel after that and the on-demand platform at StockChartsTV.com. But we're always just digging into the site, showing you around different tools and features, all the corners of the website, showing you how to get more value out of stock charts. That's our mission here every Friday on Stock Charts in Focus. I hope to see you again for another episode of Stock Charts in Focus. As I mentioned at the start of the show, we got some big things coming to the site in July. Big product launch coming. We're going to cover all that stuff right here on the show. So keep an eye out for that. We're going to have lots more info for you in the weeks to come as that new product release rolls out. This is going to be, of course, the place to hear about it. My name is Grayson Roze, Vice President of Operations here at StockCharts.com. It's been so good to be with you on today's show. I will see you next Friday for another episode. But until then, chart on, my friends.
Hey guys, Dave Keller here with StockCharts.com. Thanks so much for watching our video. If you enjoyed it, and we hope you did, hit the like button right below. Also, we have so much new content every day. Consider subscribing to the channel. Just hit the subscribe button in the video or right below. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Have a fantastic day.